My first impressions on 3 scents from Fragrance World and 1 from Arabiyat Prestige. And I can straight up tell you that one of those 4 is an absolute beast. Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and it's also time for another first impression video. Today I'm going to share with you my initial impressions on 4 scents that I've recently added to my collection. As I said in the beginning, 3 of them come from the brand of Fragrance World or from the manufacturer of Fragrance World, and 1 of them comes from Arabiyat Prestige. The first one that I'm going to talk about will be EAU De Spice Mark&Viktor. This one, of course, being a clone of the original Spice Bomb. Now, this is nothing new to the markets. It's been around for a while. And it was Fragrance World's first take at a clone of the OG Spice Bomb. Nowadays, they have a newer clone which is called Nuke. I've not tried that one, but I really wanted to try this one because the OG Spice Bomb and Spice Bomb Extreme are 2 of my most favorite designer scents. So I was really curious to check out what Fragrance World have done with the scent of the original fragrance. The bottle itself looks kind of goofy in my opinion, not very similar to the original one. That thing I can sort of appreciate. The cap is, you know, very plasticky, very light, but at least it's a snug fit. And the sprayer is actually very decent, feels almost pressurized. And the scent itself, if you are familiar with the OG Spice Bomb, you'll immediately pick up that this has been inspired by the original fragrance if you were not already aware of that, you know, checking out the name of this one. But it opens up in a spicy way, just like the original fragrance, although the spiciness here is a lot less compared to the original fragrance. This has a little bit more freshness in the opening, a little bit more citrusy freshness, and also there's a sort of something green in the opening of this fragrance that almost smells to me like some sort of a tea note. It's that green, you know, floral, maybe slightly herbal note that this fragrance has. I'm not too sure where it comes from exactly, what kind of note has been used, but definitely this feels fresher and greener in the opening compared to the original Spice Bomb fragrance. The more this actually goes into its dry down, it actually becomes closer to the original fragrance, because on the dry down it becomes sweeter. It becomes a little bit darker. There's a tobacco note in here. You know, you get some of that, maybe a hint of leather note, very similar to the original fragrance, although still feeling a little bit less spicy, a little bit sweeter, a little bit less sweet, and a little bit less dark compared to the original fragrance. But on the dry down, definitely this comes quite close to the OG Spice Bomb. All around, at least from my initial impressions, this seems to be a fresher, more airy, you know, less dark take on the original scent, but definitely smells quite similar, especially on the dry down, and can serve as a very cheap alternative to the original fragrance. When it comes to performance, I've given it only 1 wear, and so far the performance seems to be pretty decent. Again, as usual, I'll reserve my you know, remarks when it comes to the actual performance for the full review of this fragrance, but so far EAU De Spice seems to be a decently performing scent. Now let's move on to the 2 fragrances from Athoor Al Alam Taj 1 and Taj 2. Both of them are from the same line. Again, manufacturer is Fragrance World, but the sub-brand is Athoor Al Alam. Now Athoor Al Alam is usually associated with slightly more affordable scents. It's like the more budget-orientated sub-brand of Fragrance World, but in this case those 2 scents are a little bit more on the pricey side. Both of them cost around about 40 to 45 euros, but they look more upscale, to be honest. When you look at the presentation, just a quick look, it comes in this box. You know, in order to open it up, you pull the sides like this. There are magnetic edges. You know, the presentation looks really nice, and the bottles also have really nice design. You can see this one in a green color has a very Middle Eastern look to it, and the bottle size here is also interesting. It's 90 milliliters. I'll show you the sprayer in action, and then I'll talk about the scent itself. Now keep in mind that this is supposedly inspired or cloning 33 from Reef. That's how the original fragrance is supposedly called. I've never tried the original, so I won't be able to compare it to the original, but I'll tell you what I pick up out of this fragrance. The sprayer is good, not as good as the other one that I showed you earlier, but still good enough. And the scent itself, this opens up in a very interesting fruity and slightly fresh way. I definitely pick up a bergamot note in here, maybe a hint of ginger. There's definitely also a pineapple note in the opening of this fragrance, but it's used in a nice way. Maybe I've said this before, but I'm not a huge fan of a very strong and sweet pineapple note. To me, it always comes across being overly synthetic when it's overused. And in the case of Taj 1, it's actually done in a very nice, not overly sweet and overly synthetic way. It has some sweetness, but it also has some freshness, and it's really, really nice and pleasant. I also immediately after spraying pick up a strong amber note, quite a bit of sweetness, a plum note in here, and maybe a hint of I don't know, like spiciness, not overly spicy, maybe just a hint of spiciness. When this fragrance goes into its dry down, it becomes sweeter, the amber note is a little bit stronger, also becomes a little bit woody, there's a sandalwood note in here. It's a bit musky as well, maybe there's a hint of a rose note in here, like a floral touch from a rose note. All around, this is a very interesting, very classy scent that smells really nice in the air. And definitely smells quite sophisticated. When it comes to performance, again, I've only given it one wear so far, and I cannot talk much about performance, but so far seems to be more on the moderate side. It doesn't seem like a very strong fragrance. The projection is also a little bit on the moderate side, but I'll keep testing this one, and I'm going to tell you all about the performance in my full review. But definitely this is an interesting scent that smells very, very classy. And now moving on to the second Taj fragrance, or Taj 2. This one is supposedly inspired by Blue Talisman from Ex Nihilo. Now again, I don't have too much experience with the original scent. I've tried it a few times, but it's been a while, so I won't talk too much about how close this one seems to be to the original, although it's definitely reminding me from what I remember the original fragrance smelling. Again, very decent sprayer. In fact, this one seems to be slightly better than the green one. Presentation wise, it's exactly the same. The only difference here is that you have a blue accent color compared to the green one. Again, very Middle Eastern bottle design. It's quite nice. Again, 90 milliliters as a bottle size. And onto the scent of this one, this also has a pineapple note that in here feels a little bit stronger and sweeter compared to Taj 1, but still within the range of what I can bear or I can accept as a good pineapple note. This also opens up quite spicy. There's a cardamom note in here that's quite strong in the opening, not overly spicy, but definitely quite spicy. Also, immediately after spraying, there's quite a bit of a vanillic sweetness in here. It has a bit of a green touch as well. I think there's a siege note used in this fragrance, and the opening is very bluish. It's quite sweet and not too much freshness with this one, a bit spicy. It definitely feels like a blue type of scent. It has a bit of a shower jelly vibe. On the dry down, it becomes a little bit more woody. Again, there's a sandalwood note in here. The vanillic sweetness is here to stay. There's a tonka bean note on the dry down, maybe a hint of patchouli. All around, this smells again quite nice, quite classy. Reminds me of what the original fragrance, from what I remember, the original fragrance smelling, and is definitely another very good sophisticated scent. Again, performance-wise, only one wear so far, but this one seems to be a little bit better performing than the green one, especially when it comes to total longevity. The projection is again more on the moderate side, but definitely doesn't seem to be a bad performer. All around, both fragrances smell quite nice and quite classy. And at the end, I'm going to talk about the last one from Arabiyat Prestige, which is called Nayel Queen. This fragrance is a clone of YSL Baby Cat, and this was the one fragrance that I said in the beginning is quite a beastly performer. Now, presentation wise, this is a little bit more on the simplistic side. This is a two-part box. The bottle design is a little bit interesting, kind of reminiscent of the original fragrance when you don't include the fact that you get this sort of a lion head, or I don't know, I think a wolf head or something like that in here. It's quite a heavy box, very thick bottle, very thick glass, very heavy bottle in hand. The bottle capacity here is 70 milliliters. The cap is plastic, but it's a snug fit. It has a good sprayer. I'm going to show it to you in a second. This one though not pressurized. I've been exploring more and more scents from the brand of Arabiyat Prestige, and most of them seem to come with a pressurized sprayer, but this one unfortunately doesn't have this thing. And the scent itself, this is as I said, this is a very beastly performing fragrance. It's a very, very strong, very loud fragrance, especially in the opening. Very similar to Baby Cat, opens up with a heavy blast of that vanillic sweetness with a lot of suede leather, some incense. There's also, I pick up at least in the opening, a hint of a boozy note as well, and again, very, very strong, very thick, very dark vanilla based scent. In fact, this seems to be even more vanillic than YSL Baby Cat itself. When this goes into the dry down, it becomes a little bit woody. You still get that opening mix of the suede leather, the strong vanilla note, and the incense is here to stay throughout the life of this fragrance. But in the early dry down, this starts to have as well a tobacco note, which feels like a tobacco leaf type of note, which is also quite strong and interesting. I don't remember if the original one actually had a tobacco note, but this definitely has a tobacco note. So it's a very thick vanilla based fragrance with lots of incense, lots of suede leather, and some booziness in the opening, and some tobacco leaf on the dry down. There's a hint of spiciness as well in the opening of this one, but it's a very, very nice fragrance, very, very similar to Baby Cat. And in fact, to my nose, this actually smells stronger than Baby Cat, especially in the opening. It's very, very strong, almost headache inducing strength this fragrance has. It's the quality, again, like any other Arabiyat Prestige fragrance that I've tried, the quality here is superb. And the performance, I've been wearing this today, and there have been like about 8 hours since I sprayed it, and I can still easily pick it up on my arm. It seems to be a very beastly performing scent when it comes to longevity and also when it comes to projection. So guys, in today's video I shared with you my initial impressions on 4 scents that are new to my collection, 3 of them from Fragrance World and 1 from Arabiyat Prestige. I hope that you found this video interesting to watch. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.